Hello, welcome back. Thank you for joining me and for all of the questions that you've been asking right here in the comment thread. We've had some very, very good discussions in the last couple of videos that are based 100% on questions that you've asked. So I again invite you to do this. Thank you to those of you who have asked these questions. I really encourage this on the path, especially studying this course, which is self-study. And yes, there are group settings available virtually and in person where people get together and they study and they discuss the course, but it is a self-study curriculum. And we do all of this work not alone in the true sense, because we do it with our inner teacher, of course. But we appear here in the world often to be doing it on our own. And my whole point in mentioning this is that you never know when a question that you have is going to benefit somebody on the other side of the world. That it really is part of the beauty of our modern technology that we get to use. We're using it right now. And your question could impact someone's path. It could positively influence their trajectory in ways that we can't even imagine. So these questions are always welcome. Now, today we're going to look at an idea that is very simple. They all are. Really, they all are. It's a simple idea and one that we're prone to overlook and resist and ignore or shove away or reject or whatever. This is all about listening only to the Holy Spirit, your inner teacher, learning only from him, only. Now, at the end of the last video, which I invite you to catch if you have not yet, the title of that is How Do I Hear the Holy Spirit? That's the subject matter. At the end of that video, it came up that Jesus, who dictated A Course in Miracles, and whom we would all view as a leader for all time, yeah, was in fact the ultimate follower, the ultimate follower, the ultimate leader. Same. That's true in any arena of life. He learned and decided to follow only the Holy Spirit, to listen only to the voice of our inner teacher. And in becoming and being the ultimate follower, he is, in fact, the ultimate leader. And he wants you to do exactly as he did. So that's the simple idea, to listen only to the voice for God, our inner teacher. And, well, in practice, we have a hot mess because we're not listening only to the voice for God, our inner teacher. We're listening to the ego chatter. We are. We're listening to the ego chatter and we're identifying with it. If we weren't, we wouldn't appear to be here, and this conversation would be completely unnecessary. I mean, it would. And none of this would even be needed at all. But here we appear to find ourselves, and once again, emphasis on appear to find ourselves. Appear to find ourselves. That is well worth the repetition. What happens when we listen to the ego is we become fearful and confused, quite simply. It doesn't take very long for each and every one of us to look around at the world that we appear to inhabit, again, appear to inhabit, and see the chaos that this strange, mistaken belief has made. We look out and we see conflict everywhere we turn, in one form or another. And in extreme forms, we see wars and geopolitical conflict. And in our own mind, we see judgment. We see our neighbor as unworthy and guilty because we feel guilty. So we're projecting it onto our neighbor because it is an intolerable feeling, yet one the ego fosters and encourages us to cultivate and worship and coddle and adore. Guilt, 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 guilt. It wants you to believe that you're guilty of separating from God. It wants you to believe that your brother is guilty of separating from God, and that your brother, furthermore, is out to get you and all of your stuff, including your reputation and all of the supposedly intangible stuff that we make real for us. In fact, it's all intangible. It's all an illusion. It's nothing. The ego wants you to make nothing real and worship it and be afraid, guilty, very afraid. So we have a choice in the present moment between exactly two options. One is guilt and fear, the other is love and release. One is hell, the other is heaven. One is death, the other is life. One's the ego, one's God. Characterize that however you want to in words. That's the choice that we have. And let's be really, really honest. The ego is savage and wishes to kill you. It's never satisfied. Here in the world, when we identify as individual self-sustaining survival units, we're never satisfied. We could have all the money in the world and still want more. We could have all of the sensual and carnal pleasures of the world, yet still be grossly unsatisfied and want more. The ego is completely insatiable and is a gobbling machine. It is, in fact, nothing. It is not real, it is not true, and it does not exist. You are not an individual self-sustaining survival unit. You're not a human body, first of all, which the hope here is will comfort you. Now, it may do quite the opposite right now in the present moment. In fact, this course, these dialogues, this direct approach, God is the only reality. Direct approach. Not every spiritual tradition does this. There are many traditions, of course, many doors, all lead to the same place, to God. In the end, why? That's all there is. So, of course, they lead there. Where else would they lead? We're very prone to resist direct approaches. So if you're not resisting it, fantastic, good. But of course, it all comes up on the path. And this comes up for each and every person that has ever studied A Course in Miracles. And it is a natural part of our process of studying this course because it aims to correct our perception. We don't see things as they are. We see this as us. This is not us, and we know that. But we don't choose to see it. So we must learn to see truly. From there, truth dawns of itself. That is awakening, enlightenment, realization, final realization, whatever you want to call it. There are a lot of terms for it. That's what that is recognizing once and for all that you're perfectly at home in God where you've always been, one with your creator. Ideas leave not their source, and you're an idea. Not funny. We don't often think of ourselves as ideas, but we are. The thought of God, which is a term that we're all known by here in A Course in Miracles. Ideas, thoughts, leave not their source. Thoughts remain in the mind of the thinker. You're the thought of God. Where are you? Mm, yes. If you've never heard that before, stick around. It comes up on here a lot. So, one of the things that we appear to suffer from here in the world is this belief that our salvation, that our awakening takes time, a lot of time, and it is inaccessible to us right now in the present moment because it's going to be so far out there in the future that it is a despairingly long ass time. Right? We don't know when, but it seems like a long way off. This is indeed one of the beliefs from which we suffer and suffer mightily here. And perhaps you can really relate to that. We think it's so far out there in time that it's just not going to happen. Well, the Holy Spirit, from whom we're invited to learn and learn only from him, only again, has a completely different use for time. Time is for us to awaken, and we're awakening to truth, which is, it simply is, and has always been, despite our belief otherwise. Despite our mad wanderings, light remains light, God remains God, love remains love, truth is true, truth remains true, no matter what we may think about it. We've simply been mistaken, and the Holy Spirit would have us awaken to life, which is, simply is. His teachings are about life. The ego's teachings are about death. Starting with the ego's adopted home, communication device here, this thing, which is highly fallible and doesn't last, well, nothing in this world lasts, including the world itself, which means there is no world, which is the central teaching of this course. We all know that's true. It may sound shocking or fanciful or a weird pipe dream. I don't know, any number of reactions to that statement. There is no world. There is no world. Any number of reactions to that are possible for sure. We're perfectly at home in God. And here's the deal. Anything that changes, anything that shifts or transforms in any way at all is illusion. It is not of God. Therefore, it isn't real and it does not exist in truth. Some part of us knows this deep down. If we didn't, we wouldn't be paying attention. As always, we would not be on the spiritual path at all. And not only are you on the spiritual path and interested in this thing, this collection of practices and traditions that's known as spirituality, you're interested in A Course in Miracles. Welcome. Now, the ego wants us to believe we're guilty and offers us hell, quite honestly. Something hanging out there in the future for us, a nasty, vile, and vindictive, torturous punishment that awaits us because we're a guilty sinner. Yeah. I mean, we don't have to listen to that voice. We could listen to the Holy Spirit instead. The Holy Spirit is known throughout A Course in Miracles by many, many names. So the voice for God is one of them. We could listen to this voice. It's our choice to do so. And we must exercise that choice because we're doing it anyway. The Holy Spirit will not force us in any way. Our inner teacher is loving, love itself, after all, and entirely harmless and patient. He simply waits for us to change our mind and listen to him and only him. And the more we do this, the the differences we experience are monumental. Everything looks differently when you extend love and make a habit of it. Everything looks differently when you forgive truly and make a habit, a practice, in other words, of it. The ego would have you believe that you're headed for a fiery or an icy hell or some kind of cruel, sadistic punishment and torture. The Holy Spirit, not surprisingly, teaches otherwise. There is no hell. There is no specific place where punishment is meted out by a cruel dungeon master. If you ever have sat through a church service or a Sunday school, as I used to as a kid, or read anything online or in a book and wondered how a God that claimed to be loving could punish his children so severely and allow them to bubble in a lake of fire for all eternity. If you ever wondered how that was even possible, well, it is not possible. God has no ego to be offended, first of all, so you're not a sinner. Yes, it's a badge of honor in many of our societies worldwide to view ourselves as miserable sinners, worthy of punishment, condemnation, and death itself. Yeah, no, there is no sin. There is no sin. God does not have an ego to be offended. Ideas leave not their source either. Where are you? You know where you are. You're perfectly at home in God. There is only perfect oneness. Each and every one of us is part of this. So when you look out at your brother is you, literally, quite literally, and is the all, capital A, quite literally. The body is illusion, but it's just illusion. You're not a body. Deep down, you have always known. You are, of course, free to not acknowledge that. Not a problem. You're free to deny it all you want. None of us will stop you from that. Only you will stop yourself from that. When? Well, I don't know. Maybe today? It's up to you. Again, the Holy Spirit won't force and simply waits patiently for you to follow Him and only Him. He will teach you of your true identity, capital I. There is no separate place called hell, nor is heaven actually a separate place either. There is only perfect oneness. And our belief in the devil is just that, a fanciful belief. And quite naturally, sometimes we have experiences here in life that seem quite hellish. In one of our recent videos, we were talking about near-death experiences. Some of them are, of course, beautiful and peaceful and uplifting and calm, and others appear to be hellish. Yeah. Sometimes these experiences come up. And just know deep down that there is no hell. We could believe that there is and wish to punish ourselves, which is all that's really happening anyway, because God's not punishing us. God doesn't even know of separation to begin with. So, how could there possibly be a jealous relationship? There is no other. There is no separation of any kind. No, we find here, as a practical matter in day to day life, we must hear these ideas repeated over and over again before sometimes we even begin to entertain them, which is a vital first step. Once we begin to let it percolate in our mind, we find ourselves drawn back and drawn back. There's something to this. There's something to this Holy Spirit dude. Of course, it's not a dude. We use the masculine pronouns, he and him, because we use them in the Course. The Course uses that. You may find that I also refer to the Holy Spirit as it. Gender neutral. Yeah, it's not a human being. That's also appropriate. So call it whatever you want. Call it Mike, Sue, Elvis, your guide or guides. I mean, it's part of our mind that looks right past all of our illusions and BS and psychodrama and invites us to look with him and do the same. Will you? Only you can answer that. And when else but right now? This belief in hell prevents us from understanding the present because we're afraid of it. But you do not have to continue to fear the present. The guidance of your inner teacher is patient. The guidance of your inner teacher is loving and supportive. And the guidance of your inner teacher is certain as God. Will you follow it? All right. So again, I invite all questions here. If you would like to ask a question, feel free to type that out in the comment thread, and I will happily record a video or a series of videos related to that question. There have been some excellent ones lately. So this is something that I as a guide, I want to offer to all of you. This is a very valuable place, and I'm very interested in what's coming up for you live. And if you'd like to ask me a question privately, feel welcome to just type that out in the comment thread, and I will get a hold of you, and we'll do that. Yeah. So Thank you, as always, for joining me. And thank you to all of you who have recently subscribed. We've had a number of people join us. Welcome. This is the subscription prompt, so do join us and subscribe if you have not yet. So just go ahead and click that arrow. A number of videos appear here each week, and well, we're going through the text of A Course in Miracles, and I'm more than happy to pause and address specific questions because our spiritual practice throws a lot up, doesn't it? Throws a lot out there, and many things arise. So, all right. Thank you, as always, for joining me, and I will talk to you very soon.